Hello, welcome to our presentation on improving student well-being and outcomes with the internationally relevant curriculum skills. So let me just introduce ourselves. We're quite a big team. I'm Julia, and I'm a lecturer in academic development. Nighet, who unfortunately can't be here on the recording just now, is an equality, diversity, and inclusion policy advisor. Colette, who's here, is a senior lecturer in the School of Maths and Stats. Donald is a senior lecturer in the School of Biodiversity, One Health, and Vet Medicine. Sam, who's also here, is a final year undergraduate student in psychology and philosophy. And Yufan, who unfortunately can't be here, is a PhD student in the School of Health and Wellbeing. And so this is a project that has been funded by the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning Fund.
So where we kind of started as a group was very much ideas around internationalisation and decolonising the curriculum. So I think at this point, these are very well-known concepts within the UK higher education setting. And at least since 2020, there's been lots of different reports about how to tackle racism on campus or develop an anti-racist curriculum. And I think that's really was kind of the foundation of what we wanted to do. So while we absolutely appreciate and we're all very much involved with other EDI related initiatives, what we really wanted to focus on is the top curriculum. And I guess that's so related to the actual student experience. And again, that's what students can really identify with as they come here. So I guess on an internationalisation scale, just short of 40% of students at Glasgow are classed as international. So it's, I guess, no surprise to anybody that the demographic of students that are coming to study at Glasgow is very much changing. We very much now have a much broader student population. And I guess what we really want to know is how do we adapt our curriculum to actually reflect that. So in 2024, that's when we got together and started working on this project. So I guess the idea here is that instead of just having lots of EDI aligned initiatives, which are absolutely great, the focus of IRCS is very much on the curriculum that we teach. So I guess that's kind of the idea of what we've tried to develop here. So going from that content to the actual culture. So really the key things that we wanted to focus on when we started this work was very much around focusing on diversity and representation. So that should encompass everything from the types of examples and readings that we give to students. That should also include the case studies. But I guess really what we'd be thinking about in the kind of broader context is who also is involved in teaching. So who do students actually interact with as part of their kind of student experience? And I guess ideas around power, voice, and authority. So we really want students to develop their own power within the classroom. We want them to really identify with what is actually being taught. So do they really see themselves in the classroom, and do they feel that they have that power to actually speak out and kind of share their experiences? And I guess part of that is really how we can really capture classroom interactions. And of course, a major part of any curriculum is obviously our assessment practice. So what do assessments actually look like, and how do students identify with the types of assessments that we're kind of exposing them to? So I guess the main idea here is that we're not just doing this for fun. There's so much in the literature already about how this already aligns with institutional priorities that we have at Glasgow, issues around inclusive learning, obviously decolonising the curriculum, but also addressing issues around internationalisation, which is obviously something that's very important at Glasgow. And I guess the main priority will always be how we can actually work to closing awarding gaps. So I'll just pass you over to Sam.
So IRCS is a developing quantitative tool that can turn decolonial and anti-racist principles into measurable aspects of the curriculum. It has been designed with the highly international student body in mind and has the potential to be scaled up institution-wide. So in my experience, I've found that the courses that I've been the most passionate about have been the ones that have taught me about the world at large or given me a more global perspective on the subject. However, I'm aware that not all courses are as representative or mindful of different contexts. However, students are not always comfortable bringing up these issues with their lecturers. They often don't even consider it. So it is important that students are given a chance to voice their perspectives and have a greater sense of ownership over their education. This will improve their sense of belonging and performance.
So let's delve a bit deeper into what the scales actually contain. We started with 39 Likert scale items that were grouped into 6 domains that reflect key aspects of an internationally relevant curriculum. And these arose from the literature or were modified from items that were established elsewhere in the literature. And these domains are diversity, so who and what is visible in the curriculum, representation, how identities and communities are portrayed, power, so whose knowledge, perspectives, and experiences are centered, classroom interactions, so how students themselves participate and believe they are heard, assessment, exploring the fairness, accessibility, and cultural relevance of assessment, and then 15 items exploring interest and interaction, so student engagement, their perceptions of relevance of the course, and peer interactions. And we have utilised both staff and student consultation to help validate our IRCS, including detailed discussions with staff and students on items, phrasing and meaning, so they're capturing what we intend them to capture. This is an ongoing process, and we've worked with 27 students qualitatively and over 100 who have undertaken the survey themselves, which has allowed us to pursue this validation further. And this has been across colleges, so working with different course leagues across the university. And we're also collecting data on student demographics, because we want to be able to explore and potentially evidence any association between student demographics and the student experience. So on the next slide, we'll look at where we are based on these complete responses. Well, the good news is our outcomes are very much congruent with what's been established in the literature, which is good to know. And it might be that the domains themselves are slightly modified, and this is an ongoing process, but modified into these domains of visibility, belonging, power, identity, stereotyping, and peer connection.
So, and as Donald said, we have already worked with staff across the university, and the way we have collaborated with them is that they undertook IRCS with their students in one of their courses, and we then put together a report which gives the lecturer histograms for each of the domains we just introduced, with reflective prompts at the bottom to really encourage reflexive thinking around this, because these are numerical results and they're best unpacked through reflection and dialogue. But we also have a vision for the future in that we really would like IRCS to be used across programs where you can evaluate courses comparatively to then plan curriculum transformation from there with the data in mind. So really as a dialogical tool for program teams more widely. You can also then correlate that IRCS data with attainment data, student feedback, and accreditation evidence, and take all those variables together to plan those changes. But really what IRCS is all about, or how we see it, is as a tool to open dialogue about international relevance and cultural inclusivity between staff, but also between staff and students. So it's really about fostering student well-being and their attainment through opening conversations about the data that has been generated through IRCS. Now, if you want to have a look at the questions, there's a QR code here, which leads you to the 39 questions introduced. Doesn't lead to the live survey, no worries about that. And so just to have a look. So we welcome any questions at this point, and look forward to a fruitful discussion with you. Thank you very much for listening.